Where exactly are you joining us from today, Governor?
I'm at the State Emergency Operations Center. I opened the State Emergency Operations Center on Sunday, declared a state of emergency for 12 counties. We've deployed the National Guard. We're making sure that we've lifted the usual restrictions on trucking so that we can get fuel and oxygen to the hit areas. So a lot of that work happens because of the people behind me who are making sure to stay very close to all of the emergency responders on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you touched on a couple of things that we were going to ask you anyway. You mentioned the fuel, and we were just reporting this morning on the fuel shortages in Sault Ste. Marie. Do you have any updates on that you want to share, Governor?
Well, just that, we know that fuel is, primary concern, restoration of power, and then making sure that people have fuel. We've sent up a number of trucks and pods with fuel to support the first responders and emergency crew that are out on the roads. We're also deployed the MDOT and DNR in addition to the National Guard to assist with road clearing efforts. All the fuel trucks in the world can't help people if you can't get through a road. And there are a lot of totally unpassable roads continuing. And with the weather that is projected for today, that could get even more challenging in the next 24 hours. So that's why our work on all of these fronts is really important in conjunction with the work that's happening at the local level.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of the National Guard, what exactly, I know you mentioned they're going to help clear roads, things like that. What else are they going to be doing?
Well, we would anticipate that there will be welfare checks that will be helping with shelters. We know that all of these are important pieces that in rural communities take a lot of bandwidth, and that's why it was important for us to recognize this resource and deploy the Guard.
Mm-hmm. What kind of updates are you getting from Northern Michigan? Just curious on kind of your role and everything and what you're hearing.
Yeah, well, I have done a lot of phone calls with folks on the ground, from mayors and elected officials to the local emergency operations centers, the people that are running them. I will be having a call, I think, later today with President Trump to share with him what we are seeing. It's premature yet to ask for a federal emergency declaration, but I wanted to take the opportunity to share with him what we're experiencing, especially as the second weather event barrels down on us. As I've talked to our locals, I know that Petoskey got their power on back this morning, which is good. We were 200,000 people still without power as we closed out yesterday. Now that number's to about 129,000. And so we're making progress, but the winds and the additional rain and snow today could exacerbate the issue. And that's why we've got to continue to try to get as much done as we can.
What are the steps, Governor, when it comes to requesting federal funding? I know you had that call with the president. Run us through that process.
It takes a little bit of time because we've got to be able to articulate the breadth and scope of the damage. And so it ultimately is going to be reliant on us marshaling the information from the local level so that we can put it in a state request. There are a lot of different thresholds that need to be met in that process that are decided by the federal government. And so we'll have to navigate that. But I wanted the president to hear in the midst of it kind of what we're seeing and the hardship that Michiganders are feeling right now. So as we start that process, he has an appreciation for the seriousness of this moment.
We understand this is fairly new. We're only a couple days into this. Do you have any kind of damage estimate right now?
It's hard to get a real solid, wider scope of what the damage is because there still are so many unpassable roads. There is still so much potential that can happen from weather today. So I think that it would be, it wouldn't be helpful for me to speculate at this juncture. I'll just say, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. As I talked with, people who've lived in that particular home or that particular part of the state their whole lives, the refrain that I continue to hear over and over again is, I've never seen anything like this. So it really is, I think, a lot of work ahead of us to recover from this and to articulate the depth and breadth of the damage that we've sustained.
We've been getting quite a few phone calls from viewers across northern Michigan into our newsroom. They're angry, they're frustrated. Understandably, what would be your response to them? What's your message to them, Governor?
Yeah, I would be frustrated and fearful as well. I know that if you are worried about losing your power, or even whether you'll get it back on when we've got such cold weather, that is scary, and I would be frustrated. And I can tell you, we're working closely with the utility companies. Obviously, they are doing their work. What we're trying to do is clear the road so that their crews can get where they need to be. And so there are a lot of different people that have different responsibilities in this moment. We're doing everything we can to clear the road so that the utilities can do their job of restoring people's power. We are getting additional fuel up north so that folks who are first responders and law enforcement, can continue to do their jobs of trying to keep people safe in the midst of the crisis. With the new weather event that's coming in today, it could make all of those efforts take a little longer. And so asking that people do what they can to stay safe, check on one another if they're able, but we don't want a lot of people getting out on the road using precious fuel that we don't have enough of still at the moment.
From your perspective, how has the recovery process been going?
Well, in times of crisis, sometimes you see the absolute best in people. And so to see all of these local law enforcement and first responders rise to the challenge and support their fellow Michiganders is always heartening. And I think, just the two awful weather events, historic weather events barreling down on our state one after another, just makes this work even more challenging, but also I think reminds us how important it is that we stay at it, that we care for one another, and we do our part if we can to stay safe and out of harm's way. We don't want people to get in an even more dangerous situation than we are navigating already.
We've been reporting on your state of emergency declaration. What exactly does that mean?
Well, it means that we can marshal resources and utilize state funds to help protect people and get the get the resources that people need. I know that there are people who are hungry and we've got to get food to them. We know that there are people who are cold and we've got to make sure that they've got fuel. We know that there are utility companies, and there's a lot of different utility companies that are involved in restoration of different parts of the state right now. We want to make sure that their crews can pass on the roads. And so we got a lot of trees downed on roadways all across the affected area. So there's a lot of work that is being done, but it will be slowed down because of this weather that we're continuing to see today.
And when do you plan on visiting, Governor?
I would love to be up there maybe tonight or tomorrow. We're just monitoring it because the last thing I want to do is utilize precious fuel or go into an area where I put others in jeopardy, because when I come in, others will too. And so I don't want to add to any of the hardships. So I will continue to monitor, and when it's safe and I can show up in person without adding to anyone's burden, I'm eager to do that.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure your office will do this, but we'd love to know when you do decide to visit so we can follow that. Any other messages, Governor, for the folks of Northern Michigan?
I think it's just, I want to thank people for their patience. I know that these are trying times. I also just want to ask that if you are in need, that you call 211 and you let people know, and just try to stay abreast of the situation. And thank you for everything you're doing.